Hey there, it's Yanis here, and in this video I'm going to show you the communication system that you can use with your team to eliminate 90% of your interruptions. That means right now, probably your Slack is super busy. It's a fire hose because your team has no other way to get answers. So you're probably throughout the day, you're getting messages on Slack. People are asking you what to do, how to do it, maybe for approvals and that sort of stuff. Now, typically that happens because you don't have a regular checking, no clear time to ask questions, no structure, right? So like people just come and ask you whenever the question pops in their head, and they're just like, let me ask, and then they pop you in Slack, and then they ping you, and then it like interrupt your workflow, which can be very costly over the long run. So basically, that makes it very hard for you to focus if you don't set up the structure, because the questions have no home, so they keep interrupting you day after day after day after day, right? So if you're ever frustrated if you ever get frustrated that your team members are interrupting you all the time, and you always have to take a few minutes to answer, and sometimes it takes more, and then it's hard to get back into what you were doing and that sort of stuff, this video is gonna solve that. So basically, the fix is to give every type of communication a home, right? So when your team knows exactly where to put things and where they can get answers, then they'll stop interrupting you. So you're gonna have to train them. First, let's talk about the system. So the questions should be batched together. The updates should flow without meetings, more or less, and you will get your focus back. So I would say, so this is a thing that you can put on your command center, right? And you want to actually formalize this system, right? So if you have a command center, which I suggest you build for your business, basically the one dashboard where you can see and run your entire business. I'll link stuff below so you can get resources on my website. But basically, you want to have one element there displaying the exact structure of team meetings and communication and the rules for it, right? So that everybody is clear, everybody's on the same page. And basically, you would just document. So here would be like a simple example. You'd say, okay, in the project management tool, we use that for project work, assignment. We use that for project work, task assignment, project discussions, right? You leave the comments about the task in that project tool. Don't come to me on Slack and say, hey, I'm working on this thing here. We're in ClickUp, remember that task. What do you think I should do here? And now they pop it in Slack. That's not a good way to communicate, right? Like they have to put it inside the project management tool. So that's the first thing that you would say. The second thing, I'm going to show you a team member sheet where each person gets their own sheet and they can have questions and daily reports and that sort of stuff in that sheet, so that like you only log in at the end of the day and you check what questions they had throughout the day that don't belong to a specific task, because that should be in the project management tool. And then you can answer it and you can batch this all together and nobody was interrupting you during the day. Now, obviously, if it's like a crazy emergency, something drastic happened, I don't know, your website is down, what should we do? Honestly, you should also have a system for that. You as the business owner shouldn't be fixing a website that's down. What are you gonna do about it? You need to coordinate people and so on, which means like you don't have a system for it, because when this happens, somebody who's responsible for the website should fix it, basically. So anyway, even that example is not a real emergency, but it's hard to think of a real emergency once you start thinking in terms of systems. Slack, quick coordination, urgent blockers only. So basically that means, like I just said, it has to be really urgent. Let's say it's something that somebody's working on a big project, right? And they really need something from you. I don't know, you forgot to share a password because you don't have a password system, or because you don't have a system for sharing passwords. So they need some access, right? They can't proceed without this access. And literally it only takes you like 2 minutes to give them the access, and they won't get stuck. And let's say if they don't have access, they'll just get stuck and they just can't continue. And they're like, the whole day is wasted. They're just waiting. And if they just leave a comment in Asana or ClickUp, maybe you won't see it until the end of the day when you're checking, because you're probably not getting pinged. At least I hope you're not getting pinged from Asana notifications and stuff like this. So that's why I would say, okay, that's like the one exception. If you need something urgently so you can continue doing your work, yes, get to me. But then if this happens, you want to create a system around it so it doesn't happen again, right? Because people keep asking you for access. That means you need to improve that system, right? So eventually, like even these sort of interruptions, like that seem urgent, can be systemized and they just go away, basically. So your Slack should go the whole day without not even getting a message, unless something extraordinary is happening. All right. So then the next thing you say, okay, Loom we will use for daily updates and for decisions that need more context, right? So again, that's another thing. You don't want to be like chatting in Slack and typing away like back and forth for 40 minutes. I see this so often with like my clients. Like they'll have a bunch of Slack channels and they're like these super long conversations, which you know how much slower it is to like type things out, and you can't explain. You just make a Loom video. It's 3 minutes and you will explain more than like in 40 minutes of conversation. So anyway, Loom we use for that. Then you'll need a scorecard for weekly. Then you need obviously a scorecard. That's the type of communication as well, because we're talking and communicating results and the things that we're doing. I'm not going to make this video about the scorecard. And then obviously email, I would say do not use it for internal work. Don't get notifications via email. Don't send the information to each other via email. It's just for external communication. If somebody's contacting the business, they will probably send an email. but you shouldn't be like sending attachments back and forth with each other and so on. You've got Slack, you've got Loom, you got your project management tool. So anyway, whatever your rules for communication and meetings are, you put it on your command center for everybody to see. It's displayed there. Nobody can start deviating randomly and like so on, right? And if you don't have rules, then think through it, and you could just use this as a simple starting point, like it's gonna get you 90% there, and then you just tweak it to your business. But think about it, right? And here's one thing. Here's what's not on the list. Meetings. Because the goal for you as the business owner, I would suggest, is 0 meetings or as close as possible to 0, right? Because most communication can happen async. Looms, scorecards, written updates, sync, and then you only have live meetings when it's truly necessary, right? Or if you want to build a team culture and you get concerned that, okay, nobody sees me for like weeks or days, and you get concerned, although I don't think that's a real concern as long as like you take care of the culture otherwise and you make sure that people are happy and productive and motivated to work in the business. That's a whole new topic. But yeah, the goal is 0 meetings, right? So yes, and that is totally possible, and actually, and everybody should strive towards that. So basically, like I said, a 5-minute video Loom can replace a 30-minute meeting. 1 hour meeting with 5 people costs 5 hours of productivity, right? So meetings are a huge waste of not only time, but money, because let's say you get 5 people on the meeting, or let's say it's even just 3 people. Then you got yourself, how much you're making an hour, just calculate your net profits per month and divide it by the amount of hours you get. Let's say it's $200. Okay, let's say a meeting, I don't know, drags for an hour and a half. Very easy, right? Okay, so that's $300 out of your pocket. Would you pay $300 to talk to somebody about that particular topic? Is it worth $300? Or would you just rather if they send you like a 2-minute Loom video and then you check it out in the evening, or I don't know, whenever you have the time, and write a quick response, or maybe make a 2-minute Loom video back? And that's just your time. Then the other person will be there for 1.5 hours, and then another person, because we said there are 3 people. Let's say they're making $50 an hour and $100 an hour. Okay, so basically we're paying now, what is it, $350 per hour to have this meeting. 1.5 hours is going to be roughly $525, I think, just doing the math in my head. So not good. Or $500 just to have a meeting that could have been completely avoided once you systemize it. So anyway, that's why I'm so against meetings. And most people have them just like all the time. Hey, let's jump on a Zoom call. Okay. Hey, let's spend $500 to talk about this thing that we could have just sent a short Loom video about. So once you see it like this, and not to mention like just the time drag and the energy, the meetings are so exhausting to most people. If you have a couple of meetings, it's just gonna fry your brain for the rest of the day to do like anything like super productive, like just destroys focus, like all this sort of stuff, right? That's why everybody hates meetings. It's like everybody hates meetings, pretty much. But here's how you can use a daily async rhythm to structure the flow of information in your business, right? So during the day, again, I will show you a sheet that's gonna look like this, and I'll show you how to use it, and then you can download it. I always leave the links to stuff under my videos. So basically, a daily rhythm would be something like this. During the day, your team is adding questions to their sheet. So instead of slacking you, they add questions to their questions tab along with their suggested solutions, right? And then it waits there and there's no interruption. So instead of pinging you on Slack and interrupting you during your day, no, they will collect the questions, and like whenever they have a questions, they should resist the urge to ping somebody and go, and that goes, they also should be pinging other people, unless, again, it's an emergency, right? They should just collect all these questions in the sheet, and then at the end of the day, whoever's responsible, let's say it's you at the beginning, will go through it and give them an answer for all of them in a short Loom video. That's basically it, right? And at the same time, here's an extra hack that you can add. They should suggest solutions to those questions, right? So for example, if they're asking like, how should I respond to this customer? It goes outside of our refund policy, but this customer is a great customer and blah, 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 blah. They shouldn't just leave you with a question. They should do the thinking for you as well, or they're not doing it for you, but on their own, right? So like they should suggest a solution based on whatever they feel would be best. That's why you train your team to be problem solvers, and you save the time, because you know every decision that you have to make, if you're now answering all these questions and you don't have proposed solutions, you're just coming up on the fly, it's gonna take you a lot more energy and focus to answer them. And your team is not getting trained to solve their own problems, right? For example, just think, is it easier to go through a quiz with, let's say, 10 questions, and they're all open-ended, and they're just asking you things that you have to like type in your answers, or the same 10 questions, but they always give you a multiple choice? It's 10 times faster, right? And easier and simpler. So yeah, no brainer. So your team should do the same. But yeah, that's during the day. They will add the questions to the sheet. At the end of the day, they should record a daily Loom. That's a simple stand-up. Many people have like a stand-up daily meeting in their business. I say don't do it. Just let them record a short Loom video at the end, what they did, what they worked on, what's the progress, and anything they're having problems with. So at the end of the day, you simply review and respond. Again, you're gonna check each person's sheet. What questions did they have? You're going to watch their like 2-minute Loom video, and you're going to make your own video, record it, and send it back or enter it into the sheet. And that way, the next day when they come, they can start the day by watching that video. They're getting all the questions. They see that you're checking their work. That's it, right? So instead of like you being interrupted and having all these meetings, this is literally the entire flow. So the next day, again, team watches your Loom, and then they execute. Again, no meetings, no real-time chatting back and forth. The questions are batched, they're piled together, you answer them all in one focused block instead of 15 scattered interruptions. Because you want to protect your time during the day as you're working on high leverage activities. So again, I already talked about the meeting cost comparison. Instead of 5 hours of productivity, maybe it takes 5 minutes and maybe it takes 10 minutes for both people to create their Loom. So that's basically it. Now, if you need a structure for what the team should say in their Loom video so that they're not just like waffling around and like they're not sure what to say, all right, here's a simple example that you could use. First 30 seconds, weekly look back. I'll suggest you do a weekly one. You can do daily. If your team is owning outcomes inside your business and not just doing like task rabbits, little tasks every day, then, you know, they probably have like bigger projects or bigger responsibilities. Like somebody who's responsible for your social media, it's like a longer term goal that they're trying to reach week by week. So I would suggest a weekly look back. Are you still on track with weekly priorities, any obstacles and so on? And then progress report, share. I would say share. Then progress report, I would say screen share actual work and be specific. So they're not saying, today I worked on social media. That doesn't tell me anything. No, I want you to open up, start the Loom video, log into Instagram and show me, hey, here's what I did, look at the engagement we got on this post, which makes me think for the next week we'll create this type of content or whatever, right? This is a quick example. But basically they should share the screen and show you what they did because that's it's almost like having a meeting and a call with them right there. And even if you don't have the time to watch all these videos, by the way, that's another like secret hack for you. They're not making the videos for you necessarily. Yes, it's a nice update for you, but they're also making it for themselves because just by like self-reflecting on what they did throughout the day, it's gonna force them into focus and it's gonna sharpen their focus for the next day because it's okay, they're reflecting like journaling. Everybody's saying, okay, the benefits of journaling are huge across the board, right? So if you, at the end of the day, you sit down with your journal, you write down your thoughts, ideas, plans, and that sort of stuff. Many people swear by it. That's the same. So they're like creating their own little mini journal and at the same time you get a short update. So that's basically it. And then at the end they could say, okay, are there any obstacles? And do you need help and so on? And even if you would be watching the Looms, which at some point you probably don't need to, you just watch the Looms from your direct reports, right? So you have a structure in place, for example, that you have an integrator and they're managing your team, or you have a marketing person and under the marketing person, there's another person just for social media. You don't have to watch, obviously, the videos from the social media person. Your marketing person should do that, right? You only watch the video from your marketing person, which I would suggest everybody should be doing these videos. It doesn't matter how high in the company you are. You could even make your own Loom videos, like I said, just for the journaling purpose. I think you'll get a lot of benefit out of it. So anyway, information flows without meetings, problems surface without interruptions, and everybody stays aligned without sitting for discussions that don't involve them, which is another big problem with meetings, right? If you get 4 or 5 people on a meeting, or even just 3 people, like half of the meeting is wasted for at least one person because they're just sitting there listening to other 2 people talk, right? But you think they need to be updated, they need to know what's going on. Yes, but not like this. Like you need to create systems and processes and knowledge sharing protocols, and that's how they'll get updated, right? Simple. So now let's talk about the team member sheet, which goes actually beyond just the communication, but it's got some other stuff. So now let's talk about the team member sheet. So basically each person will get their own spreadsheet with 5 tabs. Here's how it's going to look like. These are the 5 tabs. So the first tab is daily Looms. So here's how the sheet looks like. So in the first tab, they have their daily Looms. So every day they'll come here, they'll add another row on top, just like this, enter row above, bam, they'll put the date, they'll put the link, and then you will put your response in here, right? Then the next one is the questions. Here are the questions that they have, and again, they'll just go through and every day they'll add questions. You put a date here, you put the context, and my suggested solution, right? So here you have some simple examples. Can I offer a 20% discount to save the sale, right? Typically, you will get this type of message on Slack, and now you have to stop what you were doing, and you get interrupted. You're thinking through it, like you're answering, and they say, maybe let's do this, or let's hop on a Zoom call. That would be the worst. But anyway, they're saying, okay, can I offer a discount? Context. Customer is threatening a bad review, okay, and then what they suggest, yes, 20%, we still keep a good margin, is better than losing the sale plus a bad review, right? So now you don't have to answer it for them, you just look at their solution and be like, yes, this is good, or maybe like half of their solution that they propose is good, and like you just add a few more things on top, and that's it. It saves you like 90% of the time. Boom, answered, and so on. So they just enter stuff here, and you could go in there once a week, and you just clean the questions from the previous week, so this doesn't like just keep scrolling forever. Although at some point with AI, you could just scrape all this, put it in AI, it's going to create like a huge knowledge base for you. So that's also a good solution and a great thing for you to do this, right? You can do the same thing with like Loom transcripts, but that's like a whole new level. So I'm not going to be talking about that in this video. The next thing that each team member has is a daily checklist, a weekly checklist, and a monthly checklist. And that's, again, beyond the topic of this video, but basically you'd put this into the same spreadsheet that you're using it for questions and daily reports and daily Loom videos and so on. So here, one thing could be, okay, did I record daily Loom? And then they'll just say, done, I did it, right? So that you keep track of their habits and they're self-regulating and self-disciplining themselves, because they, at the end of the day, they got to go through their daily checklist and make sure that like all this stuff is done. Now here I just put some very simple examples. They'll say, okay, clear Slack, clear email inbox, check the task board in Asana, right? Add Loom link to daily tabs Loom. So if you have a system like this, then there's no way that anything will fall through the cracks, and you don't have to have any meetings and nobody's interrupting you. Because at any given point, you can just have a look at any team member's daily checklist. And even if you're not watching these Loom videos, you can just see here, is all of it green? Or maybe some of it is like in progress, but it's like a few days ago and then the person forgot to do it. And then you just remind them, and again, then you just remind them, or you handle it in the way how you handle team improvement and training and that sort of stuff. So that's the sheet. Again, click the links below and you'll get access to all this stuff. But each person will have their own sheet. So for every person, you would have a sheet like this, and that's how you can manage all of them from just simply one sheet, basically. So again, let's summarize what the difference is. So before somebody's slacking you, let's say Sarah slacks you at 2 p.m. with a question about handling a customer complaint. You're in deep work, you're working on something, you now have to context switch. There are studies on this, and I think it takes on average 24 minutes or whatever it is, but it takes a long time to get back into focus, right? It's not just, oh, I just wasted like 5 minutes answering this. No, because you were taken out of focus, and now before you get back to it and achieve that same level of focus, it takes a long time, right? And sometimes it's not even possible. If you get like pinged a few times in a row like this, I'm sure you had this experience, right? Like you're working on something, you're focusing, somebody interrupts you, you quickly answer it, you go back, and then 5 minutes later, you get another interruption. Now it's hard to get back again. But let's say you do get back. If another person interrupts you like 40 minutes later with a bigger question, and then you address that, like you're done for the day. Like you're not going to get back that focus that you had 1 hour ago before people started interrupting you. So that's why it's so important, because at the end of the day, you won't even realize it, but this starts all compounding and your year will look dramatically different. These are the small things that can happen throughout the day that you don't necessarily notice, although you feel them as frustrations. But like you don't notice the business impact that it has necessarily, right? It's a huge impact. Basically, your strategic time is probably the biggest growth lever in your business, right? So you really want to protect it. So anyway, when they have a question about handling a customer complaint, they just go to the sheet, boom, they're added here. They didn't interrupt you. They have to think through the solution and provide the context, and that's it. And they know that the next day they'll have an answer in there and they can handle it, right? Super simple. And again, just to repeat again, their suggested solution is key. They have to think through their own answer, because they will often solve it themselves. So they'll think through it and be like, actually, yeah, I already know this. This is in our SOPs. Let me just delete the question and go back. Or they'll be forced to Google an answer. Like sometimes they're just asking you something that like, if only they spend like 20 minutes Googling, they wouldn't ask you. But for them, it's easier to ask you because they know like you can give them an answer in 2 minutes. But if they have to wait until the next day, maybe they'll find their own solution, or at least maybe they'll ask somebody else. Ideally, they also wouldn't be interrupting other people, but it's not as damaging and costly as interrupting you. And then the key is actually enforcing it. And that's why I suggest when somebody pings you, you keep reminding them, hey, yep, great question. Please put it in the sheet. I'll have a look later. Right? After you say it a few times, they should get the picture. Obviously, you're going to introduce this new system and tell everybody, hey, from now on, put the questions in there. If they still ping you, you say, hey, great question, please put it in the sheet. Like you don't train them that, okay, yeah, we have this sheet, but if they come with questions, like you'll still answer it anyway. That defeats the purpose, right? So you just keep saying, okay, yeah, please put it in the sheet. And after a while, they'll just stop. And if they don't stop, if somebody just keeps pinging you, then you would have a conversation with them and say, you know what, we have the system and I explained it to you and I reminded you a few times, but you just keep coming with questions throughout the day to me. So I just wonder what's going on. Is there something off here? Do I need to like improve the system or training? Like you can have a conversation about it, and 9 out of 10 times, it'll be totally fine. And if somebody would be like completely ADD and they just can't remember things, then how will they function in a business? I've never seen a scenario like this. So like everybody will start following the system is what I'm saying. So that's how you can start doing it. So here's how you can start implementing it. Again, just to summarize, document your communication channels, what goes in which, what should be talked about in Slack, project management tool, what should be talked about in Loom videos, and ideally like no meetings. And you put it on your command center, so there are rules for everything. That's it. It's all there. Everybody can see it. Everybody should follow it. Then you let the team know, hey, this is how we're going to do it. You create a team member sheet for each person. Again, you can use this template. You can create your own if you want to. You can use a template like this, just duplicate it for each person. Boom, you have it there. And then you start daily Loom reports and then make sure you enforce it. So the goal over time is founder in 0 regular meetings, right? Maybe you have a monthly review where you check performance. Now, if you don't have an integrator or some type of management layer between you and the workers, yeah, then you'll have to jump on weekly calls and review KPIs and that sort of stuff. But if you do, then you're not needed there, right? Because you only need to have a call with your sort of like management layer, and your systems, your scorecards, all this stuff is running the things on a day-to-day basis without your involvement. So that's it. Everything else flows async. So before scheduling any meeting, ask yourself, can I make it a Loom? If yes, just do it a Loom. Quick reminder, you can get all the resources below, as always, under the video. And yeah, my last call to action, stop letting questions interrupt you. Your time is way, way, way more valuable than you think. Even your net hourly right now isn't what your net hourly would be if you'd protect your time from the low-level activities and interruptions. It would actually be a lot higher. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.